Our attention now to Kidderminster Harriers. The National League then has decided to suspend its season indefinitely. The announcement had club officials throughout the land scratching their heads, really. After all, they could have more bills to pay if players have to be kept on beyond their original contracts, and of course they have no money coming in through the turnstiles. I asked Harriers CEO Neil Mayle for the Agba Club's reaction to this announcement.
We was pretty disappointed, to be honest with you. We've had no clarity or direction, stroke leadership or communications, really. It's been very limited from the National League. In saying that, I have had very good comms with Tony Wilson, who stepped up on the board representing the North League, the MD of Spennymoor. He's been great, but he can only be limited on the information that he gives us and what he's been told. We was advised, Trevor, that we'd have an email on 2 occasions now over the last week, giving us 3 options as a club. At that point, we wasn't told what options there were. We weren't even given any indication either of whether there's going to be financial support. And both of those emails conferences come back to us with, sorry, the meetings have been void, and you will get more clarification as it carries on. So myself and Richard was overall disappointed, really, is probably the best phrase to use to answer your question. But we are where we are, aren't we? There's nothing we can do as a club. We just got to wait and see, really, and see where this takes us over the next 2 to 3, 4 weeks.
Doesn't this really, though, only kind of serve to leave clubs in a state of limbo, really?
Yeah, well, we're planning ahead as best as we can, as far as for the remainder of the season per se, but more so looking towards the start of next season and looking whether that's off the grass in relation to grants with FSIF, the Football Stadium Improvement Application Scheme, whether that's consulting with Nicola Trigg, CEO of Worcestershire FA, surrounding grants and applications for Sport England emergency funding. So we're proactively doing things away from the grass with the first team. Yeah, I mean, it's just disappointing. But we are trying to be proactive as a club in looking at other areas and channels strategically, whether that's the stadium, whether that's other grants and funding that the club really hasn't looked to access or hasn't accessed and reviewed over the last 3 to 4 years.
The longer it goes on with uncertainty, the harder it is to prepare for when football or any sport does resume. OK, so I'm paraphrasing to a degree, but not much. After speaking to senior figures of both Hereford and Kidderminster Harriers this week, that was pretty much the attitude they were taking. I suggested to Harriers interim CEO Neil Mayle that if they were to remain in limbo for another month or so, it would start to impact massively on their preparations for next season.
We'd actually structured our pre-season fixtures with a couple of real high football clubs, and I won't go into details, but that's still pending. It's agreed. But obviously that will have an impact if, like you say, they do extend the season, maybe June, if that was to be the case. That also impacts, Trevor, around your squad and player recruitment as well. You know, for next season, on retention of players that we've already done. We've already, as you know, re-signed 5, and also signed Alex Penny as well over a 2-year contract. And we've got a strong plan, target framework on recruitment that we was going to do like early May really, and try and get it done dusted by the end of May. But we're in a situation now that we can't really do that. Our hands are tied in that particular strategy. And I mentioned on the last interview, you know, around the pitch and what we want to do on the regeneration of the football pitch and dig it up and re-turf, etc. We can't do that. So there's things obviously around that, but the main aspect for us was the player recruitment and retention strategy that we was consulting and reviewing in March, early March, to now that would be done and completed by May. But if we are where we are and it gets extended, then, you know, that's going to open a can of worms with players' contracts and things. I've asked for clarity with the PFA and the FA, with the National League and other areas. So yeah, it does disjoint things as far as the club's concerned. Yeah.
There is a danger, surely, isn't there, that even if the National League were to return in June, for example, that fans would be pretty much in summer mode then. Also, they'd be allowed out for the first time in ages. So they might think, oh, well, we'll go on holiday for a weekend. Football wouldn't necessarily be at the first priority then. So it could be difficult for clubs to make money anyway. It's June, July time.
Yeah, well, like you say, holiday season, but whether there's going to be a holiday season with with government and lack of flights, etc., overseas, or whether you can get the availability in the UK. I think a lot of people will be climbing on the ceiling like all of us, Trevor, at the moment. So I think they'll be glad to that. We'll try and get we'll try as individuals and as a club get a good feel factor and do a lot of promo work around that if that was to happen, and get the place vibrant and buzzing. To get a lot of people in attendance and have some innovative schemes in place that we've already thought of for that. It's just wait and see. I mean, again, it's something that's currently out of our hands, but that could be an impact, like you say, is people going on holiday or for whatever reason. You're in the cricket season as well, then Trevor, don't forget. So there's other implications surrounding impacting with other sports as well, not just football.
Our final one, Neil, really. It's obviously, I'm not expecting you to name names, but is there any sort of feeling within the National League clubs and chief execs you speak to and chairman you speak to that actually, when it comes down to it, wouldn't it be better knock it on the head for this season? Yes, you've got to sort out promotion and relegation. I get that, but there's no relegation from Conference North and Conference South anyway. Now we're told. But is there a body of thought that thinks, well, actually, just knock it on the head and we'll start again in August if we can?
We probably would prefer that now. We're nearly in the second week of April. With no further clarity where we was positioned in the league of mid-table. There's nothing for us to gain really in that essence, and on the player recruitment, retention of what we want to do as a club, we'd prefer probably to draw a line underneath it, and then the season to be void from our perspective, and then we to continue as normal schedule from the 1st of July, subject to the government and COVID and the situation. To kickstart from there, but ultimately, we've made it quite clear as a club that the well-being and safety and health of all our fans, players, the stakeholders within the club is paramount. So we're very much guided still, like everybody else, whether it's football or any sport, by the government, and we'll just have to take it from there, really.